Welcome back to another episode of For the Record. You see me solo on the screen. Unfortunately, this is not going to be just a solo podcast.
We're isolating him today.
I am
He's in quarantine.
a little bit
been
sick.
banned.
So this might actually be the last time you hear me today. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll hear you.
Anyway, my name's Matt Revel, Communications Director. But now, switching focus to the three stars of the show, who do we have from left to right?
What's your name?
Hi, I'm Senator Brian Pettyjohn.
Deanna Killen. And we have,
Christy.
finally,
Christy Wright.
yes.
Who is probably only on here because I'm sick. I don't know.
Yeah, there's actually a bill that she's pretty passionate about that she wanted to speak to today. So that's why she's on here.
And she's so willing to be here. She's
And we-
just so excited. Can't you tell it in her face? I mean, it looks like she's about ready to bolt from her seat as it is.
I'm gonna stop smiling.
Yeah.
That's right. And we also have with us our intern Blake and our, really my boss, as I like to tell people, Peyton Mullen, our communication specialist.
Back from Disney.
That's right, back from
yeah.
Disney.
Uh-huh.
And she's not very happy about that, I fear. But
Well, I mean,
I fear I'm not.
we were texting to try to get some type of updates from her while she was there, but it's nothing exciting.
Yeah, you weren't even thinking about this place, were you?
No.
I don't blame you. After June
Well,
30th.
no, I was having, like, you know when you miss school and you're like, they're on lunch right now? On Tuesday, I was at the water park and I was like, they're in a meeting right now.
you know, I could do like picture in picture. And the people, by the way, audio only listeners, they're probably like, what are these people rambling on about?
Yeah, we tend to ramble sometimes.
Well, I mean, that's what you should do. I mean, look at us on YouTube. Look at us on one of the social medias.
That's right. Subscribe to us on YouTube,
Yeah.
on our various social medias. We post clips, full episodes on YouTube, and
I mean, you can
Yeah.
listen to Joe Rogan on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, but it's always better to, actually see
Yeah.
what they're talking about and who he's got on there. So,
that's right.
yeah.
Speaking of talking
Great.
about, Deanna, what we got?
Let's get started. All right, so we'll just kick off really quickly with SB 159 that it did pass the Senate. Now it's on its way over to the House. I'll kick it over to you if you want to give any details about the bill. I know we've talked about it already pretty extensively, but
Yeah, we did. So that's the one that pretty much says, well, I'm not going to say what it says, but it overrides Sussex County's decision on a substation that was going to be put next to the Indian River Power Plant. And the purpose of it was to be the landing spot and to accept the electricity from the offshore wind project that's offshore Maryland. But, it was, close to a 2-hour debate maybe?
yeah.
Yeah, 2 hours of debate. Ended up on party line vote, so we'll see what happens over in the House of Representatives.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. Another bill we talked about in previous episodes is House Bill 116. We have a substitute now, so it's technically HS2 for HB 116. That is the one that allows a 20% discount on electric bills for Delaware. I think that's just Delmarva Power, correct?
It
yes,
is
because
Delmarva
it's
Power
yes.
only.
So that did pass out of the House along party lines. All the Democrats voted yes. Republicans all voted no. So we will likely see that in Senate committee. I would expect next week.
Probably going to be in the Energy, Environment, Transportation
Yes.
Committee next week.
It's just I'm just very curious what this is going to add to the bills of all the other ratepayers, because I was just kind of doing some numbers, and let's just say a $300 electric bill, which I don't know if that's considered standard. For me it is, but I'm with Delaware Electric and they have great rates. So just if we have a $300 electric bill, $60 of that is going to be passed along to the other ratepayers. And we saw bills of over $1,000 coming in. So you figure 20% of that, $200. And this is going to be a large group of people. And all of that is going to be passed along to the other ratepayers. I think this is going to end up being probably more than what they think it's going to be.
A lot of times these bills are. I mean, they give an estimation of, it's only going to be $2 here, 50 cents there. But, once everything's said and done and the formulas get put into the system, then it's, $10, $20, $30, $40. And
Yeah.
I have a feeling that's what's going to happen here. This is just, again, this is a bad precedent to set. We're going to charge, your neighbor more electricity so you get electricity at a reduced cost. And that's completely unfair. I mean, people need to be responsible for their own thermostats in their house and their own usage. I mean, if they can't afford, I get I think it's a weekly report from Delmarva Power, how much I've spent. in my electricity. If I'm going to be spending, way too much and I don't have the money, guess what? You're going to, make it warmer in your house during the summertime or make it a little cooler in your house during the wintertime. But, people have got to be responsible for their own actions when it comes to their consumption of whatever it is.
And there's just too many variables to really come up with an actual number or even an estimate, in my opinion, because the bills rate, they range in such, like I said, 300 to 1,000 within that range. And then the time of years that the electric bill is going to be the highest, which is the winter and the summer, all the other ratepayers are going to be having to eat that extra. So their bills are going to go up even higher as well.
It's more especially during the summertime because, wintertime you have people that use other forms of, fuel besides electricity for heating. I mean, propane or, if they've got a wood stove or, things like that, oil, natural gas. But during the summertime, you can only run the air conditioner on electricity. So I think that's where we're going to get the most impact. And of course, that's when, talking about some other energy-related things, that's when PJM is saying we might have some brownouts this summertime. So, yeah, stay tuned for that.
Right. So another bill we saw, this was just recently pre-filed, so it's pretty new. I don't know how familiar you guys are with this, but it is being sponsored by Representative Wilson Anton and Senator Pinckney. It's HB 145, and it is relating to reverse location court orders and reverse keyword court orders. Have you heard this? This is a really, really bad bill. I actually already reached out to state police. They absolutely oppose this. So basically what it does, I'm just going to read here what I've put down so I make sure that I'm thorough with this. But it basically would handcuff our police and protect the criminals. Reverse location and keyword searches are sometimes the only way that the state police can generate leads. So let's take for instance, if there's a shooting in a park somewhere, right now they have the ability to kind of narrow in on what phones were in this area at this time, that type of thing. So basically they're going to lose that tool to be able to do this. And they're completely opposed, like not even, in my opinion, from my talk with them, there's no way to fix this bill. It's that bad.
I would think that would really hamper any type of investigation that they would have, whether it's exchanging explicit images of children. I mean, whatever you're talking about. I mean, very serious crimes that I think everybody can say, we want to find the people that committed this and lock them up. So, I mean, have you seen anything from the bill sponsors as to why they're trying to do this?
No,
Is this like
it just came out in pre-file this week.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know. It's definitely a major public safety issue. It's going to tie the hands of the police to be able to. And a lot of these are very violent crimes. They use this tool for things like shootings, arson, serial crimes, like some pretty serious stuff.
Whenever they're trying to find people that have been in a certain area at a certain time.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's something I don't expect to see that before June 30th, but it's out there. So when we come back in January, very good possibility we will see this. So we'll make sure we keep everyone posted on that.
Yeah, it really doesn't have a lot of sponsors either. Only 4 sponsors.
Yeah.
Wilson Anton, Burns, and Morrison in the House, and Senator Pinckney here in the Senate. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I can't see that going too far.
I can't
honestly.
imagine.
No, I don't either.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Another bill that was signed out of Housing and Land Use in the Senate this week. You were actually a co-sponsor on this bill, SB 176, which is related to building permit fees. This is just related to Sussex County.
Oh, we passed it today.
Oh, it was passed today.
Yeah,
How did I miss that? Okay, it's right. It was on the consent,
on
right?
the consent,
Yeah.
yep.
So that did pass today, so it'll be on its way over to the House. I think this is a really good bill. I did have concerns when I first heard of this concept. I thought, is this going to add to the cost of housing? But basically, what this does, it allows Sussex County to apply an impact fee on building permits with the respective school district, and the purpose of collecting the money is for the money to go towards capital construction projects for the schools.
Yep.
And with the growth in Sussex County, this is going to be very beneficial. And Senator Hawker did bring up the affordable housing issue. And I thought Steve McCarron, one of the county councilmen, was at committee, and he had a very good defense to that. He said, we can exempt, any like smaller projects, and we can also exempt like any projects that get like affordable housing or any we can exempt them from this.
This is enabling language to let Sussex County
Exactly.
develop the specific ordinance there in the county to be able to do this.
Mm-hmm.
Kent and Newcastle County, by the way, have had this ability to do it for years.
Right.
Yes.
Sussex County never wanted it. So I think this is good. We're always, as population grows, the school districts are always going to referendum for capital to take that growth and be able to expand the schools. So this will help offset some of those costs that they'd have to go to for referendum. They'll still probably have to go to referendum,
Right. Just not as much.
but not as much money. So yeah, this is definitely a good
Right.
bill. And looking at the sponsor list, yeah, it was myself was the prime was a co-prime. Representative Holofsky was a co-prime, and then Representative Shoup was a co-sponsor on it as well. But it went through. It went through today. Yeah.
And projects under 30,000 would be exempt. So, I think that's going to be a good thing. We got to fund our schools, and this is a good way to help do that.
There's only 34 bills total on agenda, so I'm not sure how you missed it.
She speaks.
Yeah.
With snark.
Yes, we had a lot of bills on the agenda today. And considering I do the agenda comments, I should have known that. That totally slipped my mind. But this is a good thing. I'm glad to see it finally moving along, and I'm hoping that Sussex County will adopt it and move forward with this, especially considering the difficulty we're having passing referendums. My kids went to public school half their school life and went to private school the other half. So to me, even when my kids were in private school, I never had the attitude that I shouldn't have to pay into school taxes because my kids go to private school. We all benefit from an educated society, and we should all be willing to fund our schools.
Because it's those kids that are going to be taking care of you.
Yep.
In a few years, or maybe more than a few years, hopefully, when you get
Thanks, Brian.
old and decrepit.
Yeah, really.
It's coming fast. So, all right. Senate Bill 178. This was on the agenda today too, and passed the polystyrene ban.
Yes.
Exemption for Department of Corrections. They cited some concerns with public safety. I guess. Yeah.
Well, not public safety. It's
not public.
Officer
You're right.
safety
Officer
and,
safety.
and
Yeah,
actually
sorry.
inmate safety as well. I was in the committee meeting on that and went to the Corrections and Public Safety Committee. And Department of Corrections has a really good point. So polystyrene ban is supposed to take effect July 1st of this year. So what that means, they wouldn't be able to get any of those polystyrene products there for food service there in our correctional facilities. The problem is, they've gone out to several vendors to try to get some replacements for that. The replacements are, I guess, probably more rigid than the polystyrene. And
They're made out of bamboo fibers, is what they said.
Yeah, there's a bunch that they tried, and they were able to say, okay, well, an inmate can take this container and roll it up tightly and then shape it into a weapon, pretty much. Whereas with polystyrene, it doesn't have the I don't know,
the ability to
do that. Polystyrene, even for a plastic, it doesn't catch fire very easily, whereas any type of paper, bamboo, grass product would. So with the electrical outlets there in the cells, they could start fires, light their mattresses and clothing and stuff like that on fire and cause issues. So
so they've been given a 1 year, right?
1 year,
One year to find something that they feel would be safe.
Yep.
And you were talking to me about this because Christy, you go to the fair, have a lot to do with the vendors there. And
I was going to say, we have can we get 5 more exemptions? So, I mean, my dad's really involved with Bridgeville Kiwanis. They do the chicken barbecue on 404. Nonprofits were added back in. They were actually initially exempted. So I'm not quite sure why they were added back in. But that's going to be a burden on them. Also for Delaware State Fair, at the end of July, I wish we had amended it and maybe had done August 1. You've got a lot of nonprofits, schools, local family businesses that vendor out there. And I don't think the fair really knew about it either. They're sending out last minute emails saying, that this is in place.
which means everything at the fair is probably going to be more expensive this year now because they're going to be paying more for this type of thing.
Well, I just think everybody's going to be scrambling because
Yeah.
if it starts July 1, they can't sell down what they have. So that's going to be a loss for many of those businesses or schools. So
So-
our school's involved. We have the crab cake booth, and So we store it and we use it at multiple different events throughout the year.
Which booth is that? We'll make sure we get a plug in there for
It's the Greenwood Mennonite School crab cake booth.
Yeah.
So
it's really good.
Yeah. It used to be Tressler's.
Yeah.
Now GMS.
Yeah.
So and
go visit there if you go to the fair.
Yeah. Good barbecue
and
chicken.
Tell them Christy sent you.
Barbecue chicken and crab cakes. And then the Kiwanis chicken barbecue is all chicken.
So again, this is the original bill that put this ban in place. Again, a very non-business friendly bill that's going to which we talked about that on several other episodes.
Yeah.
I did reach out. I guess DPH is going to be inspecting as they do like their food establishment inspection. And, I'm not sure if it was communicated correctly or not, but apparently they aren't going to enforce it heavy at, I don't know how long.
Because
Be
it's the
more
first year?
informational.
Yeah, so
versus
it'll be like an
violation.
education,
Yeah.
right. It'll be a learning curve for, I guess, the first year. So that'll give us some time.
Okay.
All right.
Good.
For some reason, I gather that the other side isn't too concerned about business friendliness.
They are not.
Doesn't seem as that's their primary concern.
No.
We could literally do an entire episode on all the business unfriendly legislation that we have passed in the
We
last
should
couple
do
years.
that. Yeah, during the 6 months.
Yeah.
Between sessions.
We could absolutely do that. All right, moving on. The Nuclear Resolution Feasibility Task Force that we talked about several episodes back, that did get out of committee in the House. This is Senator Richardson's, of course. It's SCR 18. Representative Holosky is the one that ran this in the House. He did add an amendment to the resolution that would expand the task force to explore nuclear fusion energy generation technology. So I'm hoping that this will pass the House with no problem. Out of the 14 members, 12 members signed it out on its merits. So it does seem to have some support. And considering our energy crisis that we're having, and the only thing that they want to, I shouldn't say the only thing, because Senator Hansen is a sponsor of this, but their focus has definitely been wind and solar, and we've got to have something else. Our portfolio needs to be much more diverse to sustain our needs. So that's positive. Let's hope that does make it voted out of the House. It's going to have to come back to us because it has a House amendment.
Been amended, right?
So.
But I mean, something like this, it's probably going to be on a consent.
Yeah.
I
hope.
In the last days. Well, of course, after today, there's 6 days left.
Yeah.
I watched it in the House committee yesterday, and there wasn't too many questions, but just some questions around who would staff it. And then there was, some testimony against it from environmental folks who were against.
Thank you for saying that. And I'm going to say something now, and I hope that people hear this, but the Sierra Club, they should not be afforded a seat at the table in this task force, because I have been in 2 meetings now. I know this is probably a controversial statement, and that's fine, but
No, I'm proud you're bringing it up.
Yeah.
2 meetings, they have basically, the representative, I won't say his name, but has talked about, given every reason why this isn't going to work. And to me, if you're not going to go into this with an open mind and the opportunity to explore every avenue, you shouldn't be on the committee or the task force. You've already said you don't support it. So I'm going to be looking and making my voice known on that they should not have a seat at the table unless they are willing to have an open mind and actually explore this as a possibility. You have something to say about it, Matt?
No. I did think the individual who's testified just following him thoroughly debunked a lot of what was just had prior.
There was some
been
good
said.
testimony
Yes.
for it. Yes,
There's a lot of support. So that's why I
Like
said
actual experts in the energy field.
yes. Yeah.
And that's the thing too.
Actual experts.
Yeah.
But you're right. We need a diversified energy portfolio. We can't depend on one source. We can't say solar and wind are going to be the answer, because, we are a power hungry society, and we're just using more and more electricity all the time. So we need, the electric or the natural gas plants. The gas plants. We need still probably some coal plants and some fuel oil plants. We still need those things in order to generate the electricity that we need. So, and of course, a lot of your data centers that are coming up are going next to, of course, there's that one that's, I think Microsoft has got the one, they're retooling and spinning up 3 Mile Island up in Pennsylvania, just to feed that data center. And you've got data centers that have their own power plant, the natural gas power plant. that are right on site. So they're not
Yeah.
pulling from the grid. They're not using energy from the grid. They're generating their own electricity. But we're just using more and more power around, and of course you've got certain environmental things out there that are driving up the use of electric vehicles.
Well, that and plus AI is a big one too, is what we've been told.
Yeah, it is.
And
Yeah.
all right, if one of you could look this up, okay.
There's two computers at the table.
I know.
HB 175. The DENREC fee package is on the House agenda today, and I just didn't know if they passed it yet or not. I'd like to give an update on that.
They put that on the agenda.
They did.
Like, they actually think they had the, oh my gosh.
I mean, it might
passed
pass.
House.
It
Oh,
passed
that's
the House.
insane.
It
Well,
did.
it's a roll call.
Yeah, so the DENREC,
I'm pulling it up.
the DENREC fee package passed, which is astonishing to me. Yeah.
Phew, doggy.
I would imagine along party lines.
2614.
Okay. Any Democrats vote against? Just curious.
Let me go through here. Republican, Ray, Hensley, Lasky, Jones, Keltner.
No, can't. I mean, if it was party lines, and
Yeah, I don't know how many Republicans are in the House.
14.
14.
Yeah.
Okay, so it probably
Vanderman, Yerrick. Well, I mean, Democrats did lose a vote. One member absent.
Yes, and we'll
Yes.
talk about that a little later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So, So we'll keep you posted on that. It'll be coming over to the Senate for a committee meeting probably next week. So I feel very sorry for the municipalities because they are extremely concerned about that one particular fee that's going to increase
From $30 to $30,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
no, I think it was 20,000.
Oh, 20,000.
Yeah,
Oh, they
so-
reduced it.
yeah, well,
that was
I don't
kind of them.
No, I don't think
Yeah.
it was reduced. I think it was always 20, right? I can't remember. It was.
But that was kind of them to do that.
I
At this point, it doesn't really
it doesn't
matter.
really matter,
It's actually
yeah.
insane.
But so what you do? You throw the $30,000. I was like, you know what? We'll take a third of it off. Okay.
But I don't-
We'll
Okay.
drop it down to 20.
I don't
Thank
think
you.
they've made any changes, though. I think this is the same package they've sent. I've not seen any amendments to it.
I don't know.
So I don't know. But yeah, that's a little unbelievable.
Mm.
All right, so on to another unbelievable bill, which is why Christy is here today.
Uh-oh.
HB 210, which relates to the environment. This was in House committee yesterday. I don't think we have a committee report on this yet, but it did look like it had the votes to be signed out.
It
but
did
what
not get released.
Okay, I think they're still waiting on that. But it basically raises penalties and adds risk for Delaware farmers by treating them the same as like a heavy industrial polluter.
And I think this kind of came about by the
It lumps them in with
Yeah.
the industry.
And the
So
fines are
it's penalizing
insane.
both.
yeah, and I think what really kind of led to this coming up so quickly was what we've seen at the Delaware City refinery. There's been like a pollutant. I mean, they've been over their limit for the past like 2.5 or 3 weeks.
So why are we including the farmers as my
Well,
question?
and I think part of the problem is they threw a bill together without really thinking it through.
He said he's been working on it for over a year.
That's
Isn't that what he said
unheard
in
of,
committee
Brian.
yesterday?
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I'll let you kind of give a little bit more detail about this because Christy comes from a farming family. I guess we could consider you a farmer, right?
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
20 acres.
Yeah.
But
So she can kind of give a little more detail about how crazy this is and how it's going to hurt the farming community here in Delaware.
Yeah, so Representative Lambert introduced this as a bill that has, basically he talked about his childhood, and he has childhood friends, friends' dads especially, who didn't make it past their 52nd birthday, and he talked about basically the complications related to asthma, which not really looking at studies thoroughly for this bill, but I know there's quite a few studies related to asthma and air quality, which is probably where the industry, penalties come in. But I think that he's also trying to target well water or water pollution, and I'm not real sure where the tie-in is there yet. But I mean, he's basically that's where the farmers come in.
So what are the amounts of these fines?
So they actually go up quite a bit. Air pollution violations, most of them go up from 10,000 to 40,000 a day. There were some smaller fines related to nutrient management that went up to like I want to say like $25, and not bad. But I think it's the ones that total like the 40,000 a day where you can be lumped together. And so depending on which category you're in, like which industry and which fine, because it's a lot of different titles of code. So they're amending quite a few different titles of code. But nutrient management and ag is in Title III. The air pollution violations are in Title VII. There's also a lot related to CAFOs, which is your confined animal
concentrated animal feeding operation.
Yeah. So that's your chicken farmers right there, and that I believe
and dairy,
beef
and
as well.
I believe that's Title VII.
Yeah.
So even if they, the hope is that maybe they would remove ag, which would be Title III, but
even if they do remove ag, this is still going to affect small businesses as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and then you've got Heffernan, that Representative Heffernan, who represents like that Edgemore industry area. So, but as Representative Collins mentioned, there's not a whole lot of industry left.
Yeah.
So
we're doing our best to drive it away.
maybe
here in
that's the
Delaware.
point.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I feel like it's a common knowledge. Maybe I'm wrong. The environmental industry, I feel like they don't support farmers. I think they do see farmers as pollutants.
They do.
Or polluters, and I think that they do everything they can to make it hard. They don't want them here. And to me, don't say that you want them here and then continually introduce legislation that makes them hard for them to operate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so the Delaware Chicken Association, the Farm Bureau, all of them did a great job testifying and being there in committee last night. It was late last night. It was in House Natural Resources Committee. Anybody can watch it.
Do you have a list of who voted yes to get that out of committee?
I do not. I mean, I can look it up.
I don't think
it's not recorded yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, you could recall any of them.
I can tell you off the top of my head who voted yes to release. It would have been Representative Sophie Phillips, Representative Heffernan, Representative Krista Griffith, Representative Lambert, who's the sponsor, and I think Representative
Bush voted yes as well.
Yes, Representative Bill Bush. Wow. Yes.
Yeah, that was surprising.
I'm surprised about that.
Yes.
Okay, so we've got. I'm looking at the list of members. So Heffernan. Mm-hmm. Did she vote for it?
Yes.
Okay. Phillips did. Burns
did.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Bush. Carson.
Carson
he was no. He was
and
he actually made a motion to table. He was trying. One of the most disappointing factors of the whole conversation was that apparently Representative Lambert worked on this bill for a year and never consulted the Farm Bureau.
Okay.
So Carson, who is chair of House Ag Committee, always starts his questions on any ag bills with, "Have you consulted with the Delaware Farm Bureau?"
Yeah.
And the answer was no. And Representative Lambert actually said that he didn't know the difference between the Delaware Farm Bureau and the Department of Agriculture.
Yikes.
Oh. How about Krista Griffith?
Yes, she voted yes.
Carrie Harris?
She was absent.
Yeah.
Okay. Larry Lambert did. Claire Snyder Hall?
She voted yes.
And then I'm guessing none of the
Republicans all voted no.
All Republicans voted no, along with Carson.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. So what it sounded like as they ended the meeting was Representative Heffernan was going to try to track down Harris and get that voted out. So, and there were Representative Carson was very good about asking Representative Lambert if he would be willing to meet with Farm Bureau and negotiate on the back end. He basically said he wasn't comfortable releasing this from committee until he did that.
Right.
And Lambert was not budging.
Really?
Yes, and their argument was, why would we not release it when they're agreeing to talk? We need to remember that argument when we try to use it because that never works for us.
So the Chicken Association letter was really good. Farm Bureau's letter was really good. I think they've made statements on their social media as well. And like some of the minimal violations for like nutrient management violations were 25 to 250, 1,000 to 5,000, and then the total limit of penalties was 10,000 to 4,000. So and then
4 or 40.
or 10,000 to 40,000.
So imagine $40,000 a day on a small farm, family farm.
Yeah.
I mean, it would bankrupt them. It would devastate the farm community.
Are there any Democrats in either chamber who are farmers?
I don't know.
You had Representative Vanderwen.
No,
No.
Democrats.
A Democrat.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
No, not anymore.
I just find it fascinating, just kind of looking larger pictures. All these pieces of legislation that affect businesses, agriculture, you name it.
Not really.
I would
business
argue
owners,
our
but-
side of the aisle is probably one of the more diverse in terms of business backgrounds and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Theirs is not, and so
Correct.
we always raise these alarms that, oh, this is going to really hurt the agriculture industry. This is going to raise prices at
gonna hurt
you
small
know,
business.
Yeah, whatever.
Retail,
You
whatever.
Well, I mean-
list it, and they just ignore it, and then it comes to fruition. And then you'll see a couple years later,
Imagine
well,
There's been
we need to
lots
issue
of
cleanup
occasions.
language or whatever the term is.
Oh, look
It's
at
just-
net metering.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, net metering is a perfect one. You know,
I mean, it's rare that family farms are lumped in together with industry too.
Right.
And so, like, for example, if you know, so the farmers contract with the larger chicken companies, right?
Yeah.
So the chickens in the houses are actually the chicken companies.
Yeah.
Right.
The houses themselves are the farmers.
right.
So the farmers actually hold the CAFO permits.
Right.
So the family farm will be responsible for the entire
And the
penalty
fine. Right,
violation,
Right.
but the animals aren't even theirs
Yeah.
technically.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
my
might as well
brother-
just kill off Delaware's number one
Yeah.
economic
Industry.
Industry.
Why
Right.
not?
Yeah, my brother-in-law's a chicken farmer, and this would definitely impact him greatly.
Yeah.
And it's funny that you said that about diversity of thought, because I don't know if we've had that conversation on this podcast
don't
or
think
not.
so.
But I think it's funny because we hear that a lot. The Republican caucus isn't diverse because we all look alike. But to me, I think diversity, it should go way beyond that. I feel like if we're talking about diversity of thought, the Republicans are way more diverse. We don't always vote together. It's very common that we will vote separate, yes and no's. The other caucuses, I can speak for the Senate. What would you say? 99% of the time they vote together on everything. And I think I would much rather have diversity of thought than necessarily diversity of appearance. I think it's more effective.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Just my opinion.
There are different types of diversity, and we are definitely diverse. In our caucus, former educator, to business owners, to law enforcement. We've got a really diverse group. At least here on the Senate side, and
We even
more
have
so-
an auctioneer.
That's
we even
right.
have an auctioneer. Even more so over on the House side.
I mean,
You know.
the Chicken Association wanted to point out the fact too that that the CAFO permits are written in such a way that if the permit is followed, there is no discharge from the chicken house or manure storage. So the proponents, the sponsor of the bill seems to be misguided that this will allow them to address concerns about well water pollution. So these higher fines achieve absolutely nothing except to say to the ag community, we think you're a problem, we just don't know how to prove it yet.
Yeah. Yeah. And I worked I'm not a farmer, but I worked for the Conservation District for 16 years before coming here. And I can say farmers care very much about the environment.
There's a saying: the farmers were the first environmentalists.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. So I
Farmers, hunters,
Yeah.
fishermen, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
And they're the ones that are
They
painted
could-
with that broad
Yep.
brushstroke that we're the ones that don't care about the environment.
They go to great lengths to make sure they're doing everything properly.
Yeah.
I mean, just think about think about the farmland preservation program
I know,
too, and
yeah.
how much state funds go into that, and then you turn around and slap a fine of $40,000 a day
Right.
on them
Yeah.
after they've sold their development rights and they've left it for open space. So
But none of them have that background, I think is the point, right? So they don't feel this impact.
No,
And
not
you
at
could say that with any number of pieces of legislation, right? We were talking about the styrofoam ban earlier.
Yeah.
None of them have ever operated food trucks or restaurants or small businesses, anything like that. So
Yep.
it's easy to
Yep.
just draft a piece of legislation
Well,
to
yep.
ban such things, or
Yep.
for a governor to just at stroke of a pen to ban it, right?
Yep.
Sign it into law.
And I mean,
But there's an effect downstream that really hurts people.
Well, and I encourage you to go back and listen if you have time. Representative Collins's comments that there's no industry left, really. Like, what's left?
Maybe we can put a link to the committee meeting.
Sure.
That way people can click on that and watch it.
And even just comments of I think too that they talked about how there's not many fines given out, and so I'm not sure if they want to change that down the line, but that made me nervous as well. But as Farm Bureau, and there was a farmer, Dave Marvel, who spoke, and he talked about how there's very few fines given out, and then Representative Phillips mentioned, well, then this bill won't affect you then because you're not. And so I don't think they understand what it's like to operate with the threat of a $40,000 fine down your throat or down your back.
Yeah.
So, and how does that encourage new farmers to come, or why would you even want to encourage your kids to take over the operation?
It's easier to sell the land for development.
Exactly.
Right.
I was just going to say.
Much easier.
Yeah,
well, not only
growth,
development, but energy now. Yeah. I mean, the farmers are going to be, approached by
solar farms instead of cornfields. That's,
Yep. So we'll see how that goes. We'll keep
we'll
everyone
stay
posted.
tuned.
Yeah.
Disappointing too, just because there was a motion to table, and they had every opportunity to ask Representative Lambert to go back and negotiate on the front end.
Yeah.
And all they wanted was to get it out of committee.
Yeah.
That's a shame.
So.
Hopefully it doesn't get reported out of committee. It could stay there.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
That's when we called on constituents. Put the pressure on them.
Yeah.
What was Department of Ag on this?
So Department of Ag wasn't present at the meeting.
Are you serious?
Why?
But they met with Representative Lambert. It sounded like.
Okay.
Did they?
Course, yeah.
Okay. Were they neutral?
I don't really know. I'm assuming they tried
the
to.
The secretary or the deputy secretary were neither one of them were there?
No.
Wow.
That's very interesting. A bill that affects farmers this much and they're absent.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Do you think that's part of the issue between this building and the governor? Is that something that's a result of that, or is it something different?
I think that maybe they met and that they tried to negotiate, and I think that my impression was, and probably everybody else's impression at the meeting, was that no one's budging.
Okay.
So
maybe Department of Ag was just like, it's not even worth showing up.
But it is.
Well, I agree.
Yeah.
It definitely is.
Yeah.
Huh.
I can't answer that question, but they definitely weren't there.
All right, let's keep the pressure on that committee. Make sure that bill stays in committee. That is the House Natural Resources Committee.
Right.
So, all right, and another topic, which I know this is a tough topic to talk about, but I think we need to talk about it for the fact that I know the majority of us are from Sussex. It's been in the news lately, is the whole issue with Representative Stell Parker Selby. I know Coast TV has done several
they've been here.
They have been here, kind of, wanting an answer.
Madeline Overturf.
Yes,
They actually just posted a new story.
Okay, interesting. I will say she's done a very good job reporting.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they were? Okay.
She's done a good job.
She's here all 3 days.
Yes.
Okay.
Waiting.
Yeah.
In the hallway.
They actually were putting up new pieces of white paper to block the window.
Oh, so interesting. Oh, okay. Can we show that picture?
Yeah, I'll pop it up on the screen.
All right, we're going to pop up a picture, which we thought very interesting today. We'll probably get in trouble for this. But when I was watching
That's the other chamber. Who cares?
when I was watching the Coast TV interview on today, I was like, what is that? It showed them going into
the
House.
stop sign?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, what does the House Republican side look like? So when you compare the two pictures, which Matt will put up, it's vastly different, and I think it sends a message as well.
Well, and I've even heard from people that when they want to come in to see us, and of course they got to get by Karen,
right?
But we have much more of an open policy,
absolutely we do,
than the other side does, and I'm kind of see that from going over to the House side as well. It's I don't know, it's a little bit more inviting over there.
Yeah, and I think
they have a popcorn machine in the House Republican
and ice cream, and we have ice cream here too.
And Annie always has brownies.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
but I think with Stell, I think I can kind of. I don't want to say I can kind of relate, but I went through a health issue a couple years ago, and I was out of work for a while, and that was one of my concerns. Is like, great, what am I going to do about my job? What if I can't come back? In 4 months? Because I wasn't sure how long I was going to be out. And so I do think it's important that we give people grace to heal.
yeah. Yes.
100%. But I think when it's gone on this long, I do think that it's okay to ask questions. And I know Stell. I think she is an incredible woman. I've always admired her. She's strong. She's smart. She's independent. I just hope that she is aware of what's going on, because I think if she's not aware of what's going on, I think she would probably I don't think she would support what's happening. No. I think she would say, and that's my hope, is that nothing is being done to embarrass her, because she would not have. I don't think she would have wanted this.
And you hate to see somebody that you've known for pretty much your whole life go through something like this.
I mean, an incredible woman.
She is, and I mean, even before either one of us were in politics, we knew each other and would talk about stuff and see each other. When I was over in Milton going to visit Mom or something like that, I'd see her at Food Line and talk to her, and just an incredible, amazing, kind woman,
and smart, accomplished.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And like I said, I can speak for myself. If I were in a situation like this, I would not want to be in the press like this and having people question that. I would just kindly, I hope my family would say, it's time.
Right.
But she is in our prayers. We all, love Stell, and we want the best for her. But I do think it's time to start asking questions and to think, how do we move forward? And we're at the end of the General Assembly, and she's, not been able to vote on everything. So you do have to think about her constituents who are starting to really raise concerns.
Well, and part of my Senate district overlaps with that rep district.
It does.
And I've been getting more and more communication, not just from that overlap portion, but other areas of the 20th as well, where people know me, have heard call Senator Pettyjohn. He's got part of this district, and we've seen more calls for help with certain issues than we had before.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. So I think the only other thing I had to do is I just had the budget numbers that we had legislative council this past week, and our Comptroller General gave the numbers for the budget. So I thought maybe we'd just share that in case people are interested. So the budget this year, which has not been voted on yet, but the proposed budget is $6.58 billion, which is a 7.37% increase in budget growth from last year, which is a lot.
It is, but it's lower than it has been.
Yeah. $37.6 million in a one-time supplemental, $82.4 million in grants and aid, and $368.3 million in bond bill.
So that cash to bond bill is probably going to change because we have the next DFAC on Monday.
Yes.
Yeah. So if the revenue estimates are higher than they were in the May DFAC, a lot of that extra cash would probably go into cash to bond bill.
So it could be more, you're saying?
It could definitely be more.
Could it be less?
It could be. I mean, if DFAC projections go down, then it definitely could be less. But I think from what we're seeing right now, projections are going to go up modestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
We talked about Senator Richardson's SCR 18, and but kudos to Senator Buxton on the House side too. He had SB 106, the cell phone bill, and SB 52.
Yes, 52 is a very good bill.
Out of committee, so hopefully they'll be on the House agenda soon.
Yes,
and then congrats to Senator Pettyjohn today with SB 142 and 143.
Yep. So they're on their way. That's the two sextortion bills.
Yep.
They will be going over to the House now, and maybe let's speak briefly about SB 52 because that was a really good bill. That's going to help all of our school districts and other state agencies as well. I know you can probably talk a little bit more to it.
Yep. I mean, it takes away to so there's a waiting period of when you retire and when you can return to state service on a on a casual seasonal in a casual seasonal position. So it reduces that from 6 months to 3 months. So that's super helpful, especially for school districts because, many teachers retire in June and so that puts them at returning back to the school district when school returns in the fall. So it just makes sense there.
Jay Owens showed up and testified in favor of it, said it was really going to help the school district in New River.
Yep. So that was helpful.
Oh, is that why he was here?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Okay. I think that actually helped it get through the House Administration Committee yesterday. Okay. So, so the IRS says you have to have a bona fide separation, and the pension office, decided that. So during COVID, we waived that 6 months.
Executive order.
Yeah.
So we waived it from 6 months to 1 month.
Okay.
So we originally went in, Buxton went in with the intent to try to get 1 month, and the pension office, negotiated and said that 3 months was as far as they could go.
Okay.
But it's better than 6 months.
Yeah, it definitely is.
So, and then it also took the cap off for earnings.
Okay.
Yep. And that's going to really help people right now who are living on a retirement budget. So it's a really good bill. It's going to
to pay for these higher electricity bills.
So we
that are only getting higher.
Really thank the
Electric
pensions
vehicles.
director for working with us on that, Joanna Adams, and
She's great to work with. Yeah.
yep, appreciate the Jay Owens and the Superintendent Chiefs Association for submitting comment or testifying, and then also Nick Johnson with Polytech. He was huge with giving us input for that bill.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So. And many states already do it too.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be a game changer. So, all right, that's all I have.
Okay. 6 days left.
Yep.
Yeah. 6 days.
Yes.
So next week, we have an abbreviated week. We have a short week. So we're only here Monday or
Juneteenth.
Tuesday and Wednesday
Okay.
next week. So we'll have to figure out, probably do this again on Wednesday after session. And then the last week we're 3 days, and then on June 30th. So
Yeah, I definitely think we'll have enough content to cover because we've got so much coming at us right now at the end of June.
Yep. Okay.
So, although Matt did just give us a look.
pre-files were loaded.
Oh no, I don't
Yeah.
care. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, you
Am I
want to?
taking you out? I've been holding
Yes.
the sneeze back for like the past 40 minutes. But
Well, if you sneeze in the middle of it, we'll just edit it out and.
No, we'll just have them go through.
that's right.
We need the sneeze on there.
We will persevere.
Let me get out first.
All right. Well, so look, another great episode. If I do say I can't even talk. Whatever, doesn't matter. Another
He's
great
sick.
episode. I will say that. You can check us out on social media. All of our. I don't think I mentioned this last time because I don't think it had gone through. All of our social media is now unified under
good.
one handle. At what is it? I can't even remember. At DE Senate GOP.
Senate GOP.
We are verified on
Don't
TikTok.
That's right.
Wow.
Yeah, it's weird. So over the past 48 hours, we've gained something like 250 followers.
Wow, crazy.
On TikTok.
Just from being verified?
Well, I think that is part of
It-
it.
yeah, it
I
could
mean,
be.
I think people when you see that check mark, it's like, oh, okay, so
It's
an
part
official
of the
account,
algorithm too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, we've had some really good topics, obviously, with the Senate Bill 159 and our visit with DJ and his
The
father
dance
last
with
week.
DJ.
Yeah.
Deanna's
I made a
dance
complete
really-
fool out of myself, but we gained quite a few followers out of it. So
So it was
hey,
worth it.
It was worth it.
It was
Yeah.
for the
worth it.
content.
Yeah.
That's right.
Thanks for taking one for the team.
You're welcome.
Delaware's DelawareSenate.com and also SenateGOP.Delaware.gov. That one always throws me for a loop for some reason. But yeah. See you next week.
See you next
See you
week.
next week.
Hopefully I won't be sick.